Yeah, brought Coach Kelly here for a reason. I think he's a very complete pitching coach and can resonate with players throughout the age groups we're recruiting really, really well, or build rapport, I should say, or develop relationships with them. He is very good at what he does systematically relative to the training environment, relative to executing or helping the pitcher execute a game plan. And then he's a great person and develops great relationships. So all of that skill set is very helpful on the recruiting trail when we're talking to elite pitchers.
Yeah, hey coach, this is Glenn West here. Good to see you again. I've been out to a couple of the scrimmages so far, and I think one of the big takeaways for me is just the plate discipline from really everybody across the board. I guess just kind of how pleased are you offensively with just the lack of strikeouts and just guys putting the ball in play, and just talk about that aspect of it, please.
Yeah, we're building slowly, but developing an offense for us is centered around a few things that we really try to drive home. And what we've put in front of the players this far, they've taken into scrimmages and games and executed very well. And that's a tribute to two things. Number one, their coachability, ability to learn, and then talent level. And I think we have some hitters that have very good talent that are starting to do things in a manner that if they do these things, then they're going to be successful, at least as successful as hitting in the game of baseball allows you to. So I think we're off to a good start. We're practice number 12, I think, today. And I want to speed things up at times. But as I said last time, what we get done is not important to me. But the things that we do, we want to create usable skill and the ability to translate them from the training environment into the game. And that's one instance where those players are doing a really good job right now.
What did you see beforehand that wanted you to bring Braden Jobert to LSU? And what kind of player are you starting to see through these first 12 practices at the plate?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Braden. Love left-handed hitters. That's no secret if you've followed any of our teams in the past. I think he has very good strength, very good bat speed. I think the thing that stood out to me through the summer as I was getting to know him is he's a quick learner. He called me and we're discussing some things relative to summer baseball that were happening with him and his at-bats. And we just talked baseball for a few minutes. And then he immediately put some things into play. And I don't want to say turned around his summer. That's too dramatic. But really took off in a real positive way and has carried that into fall practice. And really excited about the hitter I think that he can be.
Yeah, we're talking to Braden and Eric today, and I just wanted to know, what you saw in them and how they came to LSU in the first place.
Yeah, well, Braden was recruited by the previous staff, and I think as the story goes, he played at Nichols as a freshman, and Coach Maneri told me the first day that I got here, he had a big home run against them. I don't know if it won or lost the game, or I don't even know who won the game, but he was very impressive in that game a couple years ago as a hitter at Nichols. And then in last year, he went to Delgado and played for Coach Joe at Delgado. And ironically enough, he was the site rep. He's an NCAA tournament site rep in Tucson for our regional last year. So I got to know him a little bit. So we had a little bit of a connection there. And when I was hired here, Joe called me, said, congratulations, got Braden coming over there, and spoke really highly of him. So that's, two great coaches were telling me that we had a really talented hitter coming here. So very pleased with Coach Joe developing him, Coach Maneri recruiting him, and hopefully we can finish off that process, at least as a college or an amateur player for him. And he's going to do good things for LSU and move on to professional baseball at some point. Relative to Eric, when I got hired, the assessment of the roster was pretty quick, but pretty detailed. And there were more questions maybe on the pitching side of the ball than the offensive side of the ball. And so we were pretty deliberate in what we were looking for and what we were going after to, complete a winning caliber pitching staff. And Eric was intriguing because he was just getting fully healthy from recovering from Tommy John surgery. So you couldn't maybe judge the book by its cover relative to his production or performance last year. I know he was working with a guy named Dave Coggin in Southern California, who I know very well and is a really good developer of pitchers, and has said this guy is really starting to turn the corner. His performance in the Cape Cod League was matching that up. And so when we got in touch with him and presented an opportunity based on, small sample size, I would call it maybe a high risk, high reward recruitment, but I'm very pleased with where Eric is right now. And I think he'll be a real positive contributor. So very excited to have him.
Yeah, hey, Coach, I know you mentioned, just getting the arms out there and seeing what they had, in a live game situation was going to be important. I'm curious just how you think they've held up in the first couple of weeks. I know those first, 6 weeks or so was just making sure that they would be prepared to throw 7 or 8 times over the next month or so. Just how do you think the arms are holding up, and what have you, I guess, seen with the pitching evaluation so far?
Yeah, as far as holding up, very good. They've come into a really good place in terms of arm conditioning, arm health, all of those types of things. They were prepared to pitch in games by the time that we got to the first weekend of scrimmages. Last weekend was their 6th time on the mound relative to scrimmages, live pitcher versus hitter interaction, and then a couple bullpens. And everybody is still maintaining arm strength, maintaining velocity. And I've been pleased by the strikes so far. I mentioned that going into the fall, and in terms of arm health and strike zone pressure, I think they're doing extremely well. Now they're facing an incredibly talented and competitive offensive unit. And then I think the other thing that might be a little bit misleading is Coach Kelly is very deliberate in his process of taking them through, and we don't have all the reins pulled off just yet as far as what they can do and what they're allowed to do in his pitch calling. So they'll create some advantages for themselves when we get to that next layer of that.
Coach, I want to continue the talk we just had earlier about recruiting. I know, again, we can't mention names, and I'm not looking for that. But I find it interesting when I talk to recruits who make visits to come see you guys. Usually it's when you talk to recruits, it's that they tell me how great I am. They tell me, I was born to do this. Then they, pump you up. But you've had several people who came in and committed and said, the coolest part about Coach Johnson is he came in and told me the things I can improve upon. He told me the things I didn't do well, and told me, like foot placement and those kind of things. It's a unique approach in recruiting. Where did that come from for you?
I don't know if it came from anywhere. I'm just a very honest and straightforward player. And I want to be a great baseball coach and a great leader of teams. I don't want to be ever known as a salesman. And, there's certainly an element of that in our business for sure, especially when you're competing for the caliber of player we are here, and you're competing against the caliber of programs we're competing against for players. However, what's important is we make a good decision for our program, and the player makes a good decision for their life. Because if you think about a 16, 17, 18-year-old player, the first large or high impact decision they're ever going to make in their life is what college they choose to go to. And they need to do that based on real and factual information. So when you're looking for a good fit for both sides, the only way I know how to do that is being straightforward.
All right, guys, we have time for one more for Coach Johnson, if anybody has one.
Dylan's update on Dylan in terms of Dylan Cruz on just injury status, his back. I mean, is he okay?
He's fine. He's been doing about 90% of everything, and he'll play in the inter squad games this weekend. Just being very not careful, just again, deliberate in how we brought him back. And if it was the season, he probably would have played the last couple of weeks. But at this point, there's no need to do it. And there was no need to put him out there until he was absolutely ready.
Yeah, Coach, it's Cobble here. I'm just wondering if there was anything that had surprised you positively or negatively, since you've gotten the guys out on the field that you're like, all right, That's different.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd use the word surprised. I've been very pleased by the defense, our ability to play catch, the athleticism that the team is exhibiting to this point. There's a lot of guys that can do a lot of things relative to positional versatility. Cade Doty has been moving around the infield and is literally handling every position at a high level. And so I'd say I've been very pleased with the defense, and they'll have to continue it, and everything's still relatively new, but the desire to improve, the desire to learn, the desire to work on a daily basis is setting some good foundations for us.
Okay, thank you, Coach.
All right, thank you guys.